Not yet, Joanne. I don't see your hand raised. I am setting up over here to go live. That's where we're about to go live on YouTube, and we are live on YouTube. All right, yeah. Hey, YouTube. All right, so I just want to make sure that I. All right, so y'all, we about to jump in and get started right now. Let me just make this quiet so that turn my own volume off. Because I'm hearing myself in the thing. Hey y'all, hey, I'm so excited. I got my Florida State shirt on today. Got a little makeup on it. Y'all ignore that. But listen, in honor of all of the people, all of my friends that got their degree from Florida State University in nursing, in accounting, in any healthcare field, physical therapy. We are doing this live today, and I'm so excited. So I think I'm overpaying how to pocket more profit. All right, so let me just pull up my notes while we get ready. We are ready, but let me pull up my notes. If this is your first time catching me on YouTube or wherever, maybe I need to I might need to let people know that we are live here. Maybe I can get my husband to share, but like get people to know that join us live, right? Um, excuse me. I'm running a little bit behind today. Y'all forgive me, please. Forgive me, forgive me. All right. I cannot see the panel right now. So let me locate the panel. So no, I can't see any hands raised or anything. Um, if you are here, Joey, you're coming in as the iPhone. No, I can't see your. Let me get you to talk. Is that you, Joey?
Yes, it's me.
Okay, yeah, so it's not allowing, I can't, well, the chat is working, so I'll just mute you and I'm just gonna get started. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. Uh, All right, guys, I am going to get started officially. And you are here. My name is Spiceda Jackson. This is the Pocket More Profit Boot Camp. And I'm just going to do some housekeeping really, really quick. Am going to share my screen over here the best way I know how. Mm. All right. Hey guys, my name is Spiceda Jackson, and I am America's advisory accountant. And today we are going to talk about what is it that you're overpaying? Probably taxes. And that's the one of the most popular taxes topics that I talk about at the end of the year, right? Business is a numbers production. Okay. Whether you know it or not, business is a numbers production and bookkeepers enter the numbers. Accountants classify numbers for financial reporting and CPAs certify the numbers, how the numbers look, how they seem, or if they're materially accurate. CPAs will certify that. A number represents what the business is saying. Just like words represent what we are saying, we can speak for our business, but what is our business saying? What are the numbers saying? Can you read numbers? Can you talk to businesses? Can you speak for your business? Well, I am a business language expert, a former CPA at the largest accounting firms in the financial world. The goal of a business is to produce a number annually or daily. And the entire year rolls down to just one number, the bottom line. Now, today's topic is not just about the bottom line. Is it profit? Is it a loss? Is it taxable? And if it is taxable, how much of it is taxable, right? If you pay taxes, you definitely want to know if you paid too much or if you paid not enough. You also want to know, do you owe more? Or potentially, can you get a refund? Now, this isn't just simply a tax talk because the title of this webinar and day two of the Pocket More Profit Bootcamp is, what do CEOs need? CEOs need more than bookkeepers and tax preparers. And CEOs need an advisory accountant to help them grow because you don't need just any number, right? And besides, bookkeepers, like I said, are entering the numbers. Tax preparers are taking the numbers that you gave them and entering them into a tax software mostly, unless they're doing it by hand. Most people are doing it by tax software. But anyway, you want to make sure that you have accurate financial statements. Why? Because your business speaks. Your business speaks. And you want to make sure that your business is saying the right things and doing the right statement. All right, let me get back to my notes a little bit, right? At the end of the day, whether you're reporting to the government, what is their take from your profit or what they take we call and what they take we call taxes, or you're reporting your shareholder to your share to why am I getting so tongue tied? Let me start over, right? Whether you are reporting to the government their take on what we also call taxes, or whether you're reporting to your shareholders, and if you're a solopreneur, you're the shareholder on how well the business, did for the year, you want to make sure that you're keeping the number and you're getting to the right number, right? Should you keep, should they keep, and you, oh, I'm sorry, you want to make sure that you're getting to the right number. You also want to make sure that you're reporting to your shareholders how well you did or if you didn't do well. But your goal is to get your shareholders to keep putting their money into your company because people invest in companies so that their money can grow, right? And if their money is growing, then you're going to ask yourself the question, should you ask them for more money? Should you ask for more investment? Your job as a CEO and business leader is to motivate your investors to keep their money with your company. As a matter of fact, your goal is to get them to give you more money to grow for them. Like I said, business is a numbers game, or you could say it's a numbers gamble, right? How do we grow numbers? Is the question. What happens in business when the professionals trained to make sure the numbers are mathing are no longer deemed professionals? Yes, I'm going to keep dropping it. No, it's not shade, but this just happened. On November 24th, the accounting as a profession, as a degree was not called professional. But why is this a problem for the general public? Why is this a problem? It is a problem because CPAs are trustworthy. CPAs generate trust that when Google, Apple, Amazon, whomever, Facebook, when they say that their stock price is worth $2,000 a share, you want to make sure that they have audited financial statements and that you can trust that it looks right, it is right, and it's materially accurate. And that's what accountants do. Now, CPA, in order to even be a CPA, take um I had to have 50 extra credit hours. So fortunately, I got my degree in accounting and finance. And in order to sit for the CPA exam, I had to have, I think, 150 hours, which is beyond a 4-year degree. Right. I also had to sit for the CPA exam, which that exam wasn't easy, and I didn't pass it the first time, right? But I did pass it. And the CPA exam is known to be one of the hardest exams, up there with the CFA exam, which is a certified financial analyst. A lot of one of a good friend of mine actually took that exam, and it took him longer than it took me to get my CPA done. But the difficult exams to take. So, in order to even be a CPA, you have to get an accounting degree. You have to go beyond accounting, an accounting degree, get your hours so that you could even sit for the CPA exam. And back when I took the CPA exam, you had to take four parts of this exam, and you had to sit for all four parts the first time, and you had to pass two parts and get a 50% on the parts that you failed. No, I'm not an artifact. But back when I was taking the exam, you couldn't take it one part at a time, and you couldn't take it electronically. You would go to a hotel. I took my exam in the Jacksonville airport, and you would go there for 2 days straight. In the morning, you would take a part. In the afternoon, you would take a part. Next day, come back, morning, take a part. Afternoon, you will take a part. So all this to say is that the accounting profession is an important role in business, because business is about one number, and it's that bottom line number. So let's talk money, and let's talk money people today. All right. I thought I was going to be on my live, and I was going to be able to play one of my uh, one of my commercial breaks for you guys. But let's see if I have any questions in the chat. Oh, if you're watching me for the first time and you want to join us live, we're going to be live until 7:30 today, because I've committed to 90 minutes of giving back. Today is Giving Tuesday. And I am giving it all. I am giving you the tools that you need, and what I know for sure will help you make money, raise money, and keep more money in your pocket. But outside of keeping money in your pocket, in order to keep money, you have to understand the money system. Anytime you play a game, right? I play games with my 8 and my 10-year old now, all the time, right? In order Before I play a game with them, I actually learn the rules. I have to read the rules. Even one of our favorite games to play in our house is Uno. And we had to really learn the rules. We played Monopoly too. We played like the junior Monopoly, and they've just gotten into the cash flow quadrant game. But anytime we play a game and it gets heated in our house, it's all about knowing the rules. Before you play a game, you got to know the rules. But with money, if we said that the financial system was a game that we play, and the winners make a certain amount of money, or the winners actually get to live a life where they're making enough money, doing what they love, and they have the time that they need to enjoy life. Life is not all about working your time away. Life is not all about you always doing what you need to do to make money so that you can pay bills, right? Life is about you getting to a point where you can spend your time enjoying life and doing the things that you need to do so that you can serve God and you can share your gifts with the world, right? Now, if you're an entrepreneur, this segment is just for you. And this segment is titled, and I don't think I have it up here. I'm sorry, guys. This segment is titled, Why CEOs Should Not Rely on Bookkeeping Services. And I have up here what we're going to go over today before I jump into it. So let me share that with you guys on the screen and check the comment section, see if I have any questions in the chat. All right, I don't. So let's move on. All right. So what it's time for today is what we're going to learn is money systems. Today we're going to talk about money systems, right? Learn how to structure your finances so your finances work for you. We're going to talk about money structure between today and tomorrow, discovering the right entities, asset protection, financial architecture of your situation. We might not get into all of that, but we're definitely going to cover money multiplication, money and money mastery, which is building your own internal system that's necessary for you to have a life without money limits, worry, lack, or stress, right? This is not a master class about taxes, but it's about money, systems, structure, multiplication, and money mastery, right? And if you're looking to master something, where do you go? Are you going to ask the person if we're talking about karate, are you going to ask someone who hasn't even gotten a belt yet in karate? No. You're going to talk to someone who actually have achieved high levels, maybe black belt, right? So that is why I say to you that CEOs should not simply rely on bookkeepers. Let me put my notes on here for you guys as I'm talking. Okay. So, why CEOs should not, uh-uh, sorry guys. There we go. So, here we go. Why CEOs should not rely on bookkeeping services. A business is a numbers production. Like I told you guys before, no matter what you're selling, the end result of a sales cycle or business production is numbers. For example, you're going to ask yourself these questions, right? How many X did you sell, right? How much time did you bill? X. How many widgets did you complete? X. What were the total number of sales? What was net profit? X. Did you make money? X. What was the drawer count? X. What was the head count for the day? X. X marks the spot. X represents the number that answers the money question or solves the math equation. Numbers. X represent numbers. It is all communicated in numbers, the universal language of business. Bookkeepers input and classify the numbers. Accountants prepare financial reports. Controllers oversee the reporting to make sure what we are reporting is correctly stated. CFO. The CFO speaks to the stakeholders and is the financial representative for the business. The board of directors are the decision makers of the business and include the president and the CEO of the company. The financial team is represented by the CFO and managed by the controllers. The company, the company is represented by the CEO. Now, as a business owner, you are CEO of the company, and every role above unless you've hired someone to assume those roles necessary. Um, because in every business, when you hire people, even people in the financial field, you must be clear on what role you are hiring them to assume. And know that every role that I mentioned already, bookkeeper, accountant, controller, CFO, president, CEO, those six roles have to be covered by someone, even if you're a solopreneur, that's you, right? Hiring problems. I've had my own share, right? And a lot of times hiring problems come in with the generalization of duties, right? Created the hiring problems usually happen with the generalization of duties. And I actually believe that that generalization has created the declassification dilemma for an entire profession, right? That generalization has caused the Department of Education to believe that accounting is not a critical degree, that there's no clear demarcation between a bookkeeper, clear demarcation between a tax preparer, clear demarcation between an accountant, a controller, or a CFO. Now, once you get into business, or if you've operated in a Fortune 500 company, you know that there is a big difference between the accounts payable clerk and the CFO of the company. Even the accounts payable and accounts receivable clerk and the controller. My very first job in accounting, I was 17 or 18 years old. It was for Johnson and Johnson. I worked at Vistacon in Jacksonville, the contact lens division before I wore glasses. Now I actually wear real glasses, but I worked in accounts payable. And you know, I was able to go in, do some of the accounts payable work. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I was entering invoices as an accounts payable clerk. As an accounts receivable clerk, I was going through and making sure that the customer invoices got out. And if a customer call with a problem, then I would be the person to go through the microfiche. Yes, I said microfiche. I would go through the microfiche to find the invoice and research it for my manager. But that was my role as an intern, right? There is a clear demarcation. Accountants and I'm sorry, tax preparers and bookkeepers. Bookkeepers are data entry clerks, similar to like in corporate America, where you have your accounts receivable and accounts payable clerk. Those people are not doing on the financial reporting team. Right? They're on the direct interaction team, possibly with your customers, making sure they're getting invoices, making sure they're working with your vendors, making sure they're collecting invoices and paying invoices and dealing with that aspect of your business. Now, the people who study the role and master the education are issued the degree and labeled as accountants. In other major fields like law and medical, you can't claim the highest role and or the highest role is clear, right? We know what a lawyer is. And there's a difference between the lawyer and the paralegal, the doctor and the nurse, right? A CPA is simply sometimes a person who passed the CPA exam, but not necessarily have the expertise in business financial statements and tax returns. They may have the experience in business in financial statements, not tax returns. They may have the experience in internal operations and not business financial statements. Just like you have lawyers that practice different areas, you have accountants that practice different areas, even CPAs, right? Just like you have nurses that practice in different areas. Accounting is no different. In our profession, you got to know who to hire. I actually did a talk. I did a speech for a mastermind that I'm in for our mastermind day, and I was telling them about the divine nine of accounting. And in the divine nine of accounting, you have, the bookkeeper, you have the tax preparer, you have the controller, you have you have the financial advisor, you have a financial planner, you have a CPA, you have a financial due diligence specialist, transaction advisory. You have like all of these different specialties. And what I did was I broke that down. I said to tax preparers and bookkeepers are more so like, and I don't want, and I'm not saying this to be negative, but Judas was the treasurer, right? Judas kept up with the money. Judas collected the money. Judas probably paid the bills. Peter was responsible for the number at the top, sales, right? That X at the top that we multiply by, right? That we hope we get multiples of X. Because what did Jesus tell him? I'll make you a fisherman of men. And Peter literally helped Jesus fish for what he was looking for. Sell people was what God was trying to attract. In your business, you're trying to attract people, but to buy. He was attracting people in order to bless them, right? To teach them the good news and the gospel. But I digress. So Matthew was the advisor because Jesus was here on earth and he didn't know the tax system. But Matthew was a tax collector, and he, I'm assuming, and I know, had to be good at what he was doing. He's Jesus. Jesus knew how to pick the right person. So he recruited Matthew to be one of his 12 disciples. But even Jesus had three people, three out of 12 of his disciples were financial people. He had a treasurer, he had an advisor, and he had a marketing salesperson, right? Those are your numbers, people. You got to have that on your team because without sales, a business cannot survive. Sales is like the food, the nourishment for businesses, right? All right. So I've already told you guys how I worked in accounting. I've been in accounting since I was 16 years old. I actually started in a program called Inroads. So shout out to Inroads Jacksonville. I told you guys how I secured my first job in corporate America and the roles and how the roles in accounting are seem general, but they are very specific, much like the other professions. But when the roles are specific, um, the title doesn't allow for general use. Like people can't just be out here saying they're an accountant without a degree. I remember one time I was getting my nails done, and this was during the time where people were scamming. And this lady literally was saying how she was doing PPP for people. And she told me that she was an accountant. Now, she didn't know that she was talking to a real accountant at the time. And I just want to make sure I'm not sharing my screen, that I'm talking directly to you guys. Yeah, she didn't realize that she was talking to a real accountant. And she was saying how she could, like, how she was helping people and how she was helping people, y'all wasn't right. And so and she was claiming to be an accountant. Why? How? Because um, in accounting, unless you don't call yourself a CPA unless you pass the CPA exam. And if you don't keep up with your CEs, then you're not active. You would be inactive. And so you wouldn't even really refer yourself as a current CPA. You say former. So I say former. And so you know, all of this is, but in accounting, I just feel like, I am so experienced in this, and people don't hire me just to crunch numbers. They hire me so that I can help them get to the X, all these X's that I showed you guys earlier, right? Okay, so little CEOs, how do you describe your role? Do you describe your role by titles like that I bolded above? Like, do you call yourself an accountant? Do you call yourself your company's bookkeeper? Or do you say you don't need one? Do you describe yourself as a CEO and the CFO or the CEO and president? If so, are you the small business owner? You're the small business owner that I've built my firm to assist and protect from money mediocrity. What is that? You might ask. I want to lead with the story that triggered me to start my firm. And you may have heard it before, but I like to tell it because it is so critical and important on the importance of statements, financial statements, business statements, which are called financial statements and tax filings, right? I was on what was considered a small deal, right? And I am an ex, which means former certified public accountant, who has worked with the largest CPA firms in the world as an auditor and transaction advisory accountant, which means I work numbers for business deals in short. I was working a transaction advisory deal. My client was a subsidiary of a large corporation, but was interested in acquiring this small business for vertical integration and growth. I went to a small town. I think I was in Texas. And in my head, this felt like some version of a Lifetime move or a Hallmark story that I love watching, but without the underlying love story. Big city Atlanta accountant goes to visit small business making millions off the dirt road of a little town classified as a city. I pulled up to the door and I went in a room where the documents were prepared for me and they had it all laid out, right? And this was before technology. This guy wasn't going to upload his financials onto a Google Drive or into some online data room or into a Dropbox or something like that. We literally had to go down to what was called a data room, right? If we had asked him to give us anything electronically, it probably would have scared him off. So I went to visit him and to review and analyze and make copies of the paperwork that I needed to perform the due diligence and prepare the advisory report for the decision makers. Let me tell you what I was given, which I wasn't used to getting this. I was given tax return, which was prepared by a bookkeeper, and a financial statement, which was prepared by software and data entered by an office clerk or maybe a bookkeeper. I requested a general ledger, customer invoices, payroll records, to go and look at the asset that my client was most interested in. And I also needed to talk directly to the business owner because I knew that the business owner had a wealth of knowledge. Now, this is the 30 million versus $10 million gap that I told you guys about last night, where the financial statement said 10 million in sales and the actual financial statement sales for the year was 7.5 million, right? The owner, the little CEO, wanted 10 million to sell. The buyer, the big CEO, was willing to pay 30 million. I found business statements that only supported 7.5 million. Statements. What is a business statement anyway? And why should anyone believe that what the business statements are saying is not truth? Are the business statements accurate? Who determines if the business statements are accurate? Who determines the rules and if the rules are followed? What type of statements do your business have? Are your business statements audited by a certified public accountant, reviewed by a certified public accountant, compiled by a certified public accountant, or prepared by a certified public accountant, or just prepared by you? Many times, even if your business statements are not in the ARC, which I call audit, review, or compilation, the banks will still let you on the money boat, even though you're not in the ARC. So, who's making your business statements? Do you know the statements that your business is making? Do you agree or disagree with the results of your business statements? Your business tax filing is a statement that states that you either are owed money to be returned to you by the government or you didn't pay enough money. That's what your business tax filing statement is. Now, the goal for the CEO is for the business to be is for the business not to distribute money needed inside as a multiplier and to find ways to grow money tax free and with little to no interest. The goal is to have dividends. You want me to write that word down? Maybe I could write it on my whiteboard. Let's see. Yay, it's breaking out the whiteboard for me. I love it. Can you guys see the whiteboard? Can you guys see it? Let me know yes or no in the chat. Let's see. I can't tell if you guys can see it. Let me know. Hi. Hi, Matt. 1009. Can you see the whiteboard? Well, I'm not going to worry about that because I don't know if you guys can see it. So, anyway, um, the goal for you as a CEO is to make sure that you are receiving dividends. Dividends is the money that we divide at the end of the year or at an appointed time. But business owners assume money often in the bank represents dividends, especially when no money is paid in a cadence to the owner, like a salary, wage, or set distribution, right? Owners draw as needed, right? And there should be an accumulation of debt that's owed to the owner, which is a set amount paid or not paid. So here's a question without all the jargon, right? Did you pay yourself? And if you did not pay yourself, did you charge your business an amount that is owed to you for your time, right? What would the financial statements of the business be to describe what I said above? We call this paying yourself or valuing your time. Even if the business can't currently pay you, your time at as the business owner is important. Can the business afford to pay you? And when it does pay you, how does it look and how does it affect the business? Ultimately, money is the exchange of time collected, held, and exchange. Time you labored, time you worked to progress something, time you produce something. The business has collected time from you. You should value your time that you exchange. Hours worked in the business. So let me do an example, right? So today I work from 10 to 11:30 and 1 p.m. to 7:30. So I am working a total of 8 hours today. If I valued those 8 hours and said that and say I do that 6 days a week. That's 48 hours a week, right? 200 hours. I estimated 192 hours times your average cost, which was my average cost, was like 48,000 a month. And so the bank, my business owes me a lot. Okay, debt on an accrual basis is shown even if it's not paid. So even if the company didn't pay you, but owe you the money back, you should record. the balance owed to you, but don't try to do it yourself. Consult with an advisory accountant to see what makes sense, right? So, here's some questions that I'm going to run down for you guys as I am wrapping up. And I want you to ask this question: how do you pay yourself? Can your company afford to pay you yet? And are you one of those people out there wondering, why am I paying taxes when I feel like I'm barely paying myself? So, I want to go through with you guys three money misconceptions. Three money misconceptions. And I'm going to share my screen as I show them to you. Why can't I get to my. Are we still on Zoom, good people? Yes. All right. When I'm trying. Now I'm quiet only because I'm trying to show you guys this, trying to get this thing on the screen, and I apologize for not having it um, queued up. Wasn't planning to share it, but now that I am, I have it up. All right, guys. All right, so the three money misconceptions, right? One, misconception number one, debt payments reduce taxable income. Now, payment of debt is money you owe to someone, the bank, the credit card company. It's not an expense, but simply a reduction of a liability, okay? The next money conception is they didn't pay me what they owed me, and I lost money. The customer didn't pay or your renter didn't pay. This is not a direct tax deduction, y'all. Okay? You must account for the loss that you capture. So, one of the things that I get often and a lot is when people say to me, oh, well, Spiceda, I like, especially property owners, like if you have a property and you're like, oh, I didn't rent it all year. So, can I record the rent that, um, and that's one of the questions. Can I record the rent that my tenant didn't pay me as a loss? The answer is no. That is not how losses are created. A loss is sales minus expenses equals loss. Loss does not equate to, oh, well, your renter didn't pay you. That means you lost money, but that wasn't a business loss. Got it? Got it. All right. Let me know in a comment if you get this, right? Misconception number three. I didn't pay or barely paid myself. The company made no money. The bank account is on zero, right? I am behind financially in areas. Why do I owe taxes? The grade on the year, pass or fail, was failed. I should not owe anything. Listen, the government doesn't want to hear that because a part of what you probably are feeling is the fact that you didn't have enough to pay yourself, but it doesn't mean that your business didn't make money. And in the financial world, especially in the world of entrepreneurship, that is a big difference. And I feel you. I know exactly how you feel, right? When you were an entrepreneur, you were able to go, you got your check, all the taxes were taken out, and what was left was the after tax money. The difference between entrepreneurship and employeeship is there are no one's taking out the taxes for you. The they that took out the taxes for you, you're now the they. So you have to learn how to money math. And money math requires multiplication, also known in my world as fast addition. And it's time for us to rediscover what to do with money, how money should be valued, and account. You don't have to be an accountant, but you do have to be able to money math, right? Now, the question is, should you owe taxes if you didn't make any money? The answer to that question is it depends. What do the accounting say? Are you even doing your accounting? I'm going to let that just sit for a second. Now, even if you're doing an account, even if you're doing your accounting or someone else is doing your accounting, here's the question. Is it accurate? You could do your own accounting and make sure that it's right, right? And you must do your accounting and make sure it's right. Some level of accounting. Accounting is supported by financial ledgers accumulated, which we call books of records. And in modern language, we call books of records receipts. But who's keeping receipts these days, right? The stores are barely even wanting to give us paper receipts. They're g- showing up. I took my kids out today and they didn't give me a receipt. Well, I had to specifically ask for a receipt. But, everyone's texting or say, you're doing everything on your phone, but you even have a folder to put those receipts that are text to you, right? What would your own money system look like? Do you need an accountant or an accounting system? You probably do. Even if you don't feel like you need an accountant, you definitely need an accounting system. I believe every moneymaker needs an accounting system. Some people might call it a budget. Some might call it bookkeeping. Some of you might just be using your online banking as your books. But no matter what you call it, it is not an accounting system. If you're not centrally tracking money you're making, taking, and distributing. I'll say that again, making, taking, and distributing. And don't worry if you haven't tracked it monthly, daily, quarterly, or weekly. We can backtrack it. You can backtrack it. So here's the question. Is your money off track? And I have 5 questions that'll help you assess. Do you know how much money you made? Take out a piece of paper, write this down. Number two, do you know how much cash you took? Three, do you know what you took the cash for? Four, do you know how the cash you took was distributed? Five, did you distribute more than you made? Let me know in the comments how many yes. Do you have a 5 out of 5? So go 5 slash 5. Do you know how many no's do you have? Right? Give me your yeses. If you have yes, can the number be found on a financial statement or report? Like how much money you made, can that be found on a cash statement or report? How much cash you took, right? How much you distributed? Did you distribute more than you made? Can that be found on a financial statement or a report? If no, are you interested in tracking this stuff moving forward? Do you believe that your own verbal financial statement is good enough? Do you believe that, it's good enough to ensure that you're not overpaying? Now, here are some questions I have for CEOs specifically, especially the CEOs with 5 and 6 figure tax bills that want to keep their money in their business to multiply, right? Do you feel you could have made more if you had more money? Could you have sold more with more customers or more product? Could you have made more money if you could have held the money a little bit longer? What is your working capital? What are your payment terms with your vendors? Can you shift them? Can you borrow money? Do you have financials like a balance sheet, P&L, tax return from last year, you know, and this year through to the end of last quarter? Can a third party review it? Financial statements are a required investment for business leaders, and an accountant is an investment and not an expense. I'll tell you guys a funny story. I went to Jacksonville, and one of my pastors introduced me to his accountant and told me to, meet this person or whatever. And I met with him and I walked in his office, and on his wall it says, an accountant is an investment and not an expense. And that was back in 2009 when I was first starting my firm. And I never forgot it. Numbers, numbers, not bean counting. You must get an internal system that you understand, a book you're interested in reading every day or regularly that inspires you. And I'm talking about your book of financial records. Like, how do you need to see it so that you pay attention to the numbers? My son, he's a bright and talented child. He always colored inside the lines when he was 3 years old. He was writing and reading in cursive at 4 years old. He could understand and speak the basics of three languages by the time he was 5: English, Spanish, and Chinese. He could count math effortlessly, but hated to read even though he could read and understands the rules of phonics. He could read. Even in kindergarten, I'll never forget, because he's a July baby, they asked me to consider holding him back. And his kindergarten teacher was adamant. with a no because he could already read. Again, he just simply hated reading. Now, he could read, but his fluency was low, right? That means like, you know how like you type 30, 35 words a minute. He, but versus somebody who types 10 words per minute. It's like how many words did he read per minute? It wasn't fast. He wasn't a fast reader. In the education system, the teacher told me he would sit in the class and not do his work. Well, I think it's because he wasn't reading as fast as the other kids and he knew it. He was like the little engine that could, but for some reason he didn't. He wouldn't, but we knew he could. Now, there's a Bible verse that says, "Cast not away your confidence, for in it is great recompense of reward." His confidence was missing. He knew the information, he knew he could do the work, but the kid who read every night and enjoyed reading became more fluent in reading, and after a while, it wasn't a chore. The more that you do something, the less that it feels like a chore. The first time you do something is always a practice. And the more and more that you do it, you get great. A lot of times, we compare our day 0 or day 1 with someone else's day 1,000 or 2,000. Just like riding a bike. When you first rode a bike, you didn't just jump on a bike and start going at 100 miles an hour. You had to get comfortable. You had to get confident. You have to do the same thing with reading your financials and looking into your financial system and developing what I call a wealthy habit, right? You have to get to the point where you're happily looking at your numbers, happily reading without thinking about the fact that you're reading. And you'll go from reading fluently to you'll go from reading fluently to writing fluently because you're more familiar with writing words. Then you'll get good with sentencing structure. And next thing you know, you are fluent in not only reading, but writing. And you go from writing words to writing sentences. Many small business CEOs and business leaders remind me of my son. No one really likes to look at numbers. Numbers are fun to me, however. I love letters, I love words, I love numbers, I love problem solving. I think that's what's made me a good financial system advisor and advisory accountant. I love the art of the deal, the challenge to find the right number and to make it multiply. I believe that's the goal of every CEO, but many, specifically the little CEO, doesn't have the luxury, nor do they have the time to worry with the operational numbers, the accounting function, or the bookkeeping. At least we think. If these numbers are dysfunctional, then it triggers financial issues and financial disruption in our business. It caused tax bills we're not prepared for, lack of bank financing, lack of cash flow, limited access to capital, or no one will give us any money to borrow at all. We got to fix the internal financial system, structure, statements, so that we can apply a strategy that will help us achieve our X. The goalpost for the CEO is the X. Like in football, there's the goalpost that the quarterback is using the players on the field to run the ball toward the goal. Imagine that you are in business and you're playing offense and defense daily. The dollars are the ball and the numbers are the points. You have to reach the numbers if you want to score the dollars to win the money game. I'm going to pause right here for today. And I'm going to invite you guys to come back on tomorrow as we talk about the systems that they have and the system that you have. Money systems help your money multiply. Now, if you're catching this on replay and you know that you want to work with me, I would like to invite you today to join me for my AHA Money community. And to join the community, I'm going to show it to you guys really quick. It is $3,600 and you work with me for 12 weeks, or you can break it out into payments. So if you're ready, you would pay 800 today and I actually have a discount because it is Black Friday week. And so if you join today, your payment will be 720. You have six payments of 720. 720 you would pay today. Total cost 3,600. And what do you get in this community? Let me pull up the page for you. You get weekly coaching, weekly lives. Uh-oh. See if I could get it to pull up. There it is. All right. Let me get it up for you guys over here. And I'll drop the link in the comments for you guys to be able to reach. All right, so if you're interested in joining the AHA Money community, it's 12 weeks to build your system so you can stop overpaying and finally multiply your wealth, right? It is a full payment of 3,600, or you can do, which is full pay, or you could do a payment plan. What you get is 12 weeks with the full pay of live coaching, bank account organization, accounting system setup and training, tax deduction ID, um, I, tax deductions identified, entity structure guidance, community access, and all of the trainings and recordings. Plus, I will be going live um, once a week. And yeah, you get live coaching. So, when you get inside the AHA community, we meet 1 to 2 weeks on Zoom with me. We do hot seat coaching, Q&A, accountability. software training, bank account setup, tax deductions, hunts, um, community access. We talk about entity structure. And you know what? I don't think I've spent enough time. It is actually like you get an instant discount of $1,200. And listen, I pay for myself. I've never had anyone pay me for advisory services, and the advice that they get from working with me does not save them equal at minimum or double. It's usually double or more, right? So if you're going to bet on anything, right? If you're going to put money somewhere, right? Anytime you put your money somewhere and it comes back to you in more than you put out, that's an investment. And that's why I say that working with us, an advisory accountant, X Financial CPA, if you join X Financial CPA webinar /aha money, right? You will be able to join the Aha Money community as a founder. It is $800 for 6 months. You get live coaching, and you get your tax return free, 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 full pay, free. All right. So let me keep going down. Make sure I'm sharing my screen. So why this works? Here's what I tell every client. Like I said, I pay for myself. I haven't met a client yet where my professional advice didn't result in professional savings that exceeded my fee. When you work with me, you're not spending money, you're making an investment that pays you back every single time. Now, here's some frequently asked questions you might ask, right? When does the cohort start? Well, the next cohort starts Monday, right? We meet every Um, 1 to 2 weeks for 12 weeks. That's approximately 3 months. You'll get the schedule. And what if you can't make all the live calls? Then all the sessions are recorded and you have access for the full year, right? Plus, you can submit your questions in advance. Do you need to know accounting? Absolutely not. We start wherever you are, and where I need you to be is to make sure that you have a financial system, financials for us to talk about. How can I advise you? How can I make sure that you're showing up with the best statement for your household finances, for your financials for the year, right? If you don't show up with good numbers, I'm going to help you show up with the right stuff, right? Is this tax advice? No, this is tax strategy and education, right? I'm a former CPA with over 32 years experience in teaching people how to build systems and building systems. We don't file your taxes in the program unless you get the full payment. Um, and that even comes with the like your taxes are free up to 1,500. Now you can't have a $15,000 tax return and think that it's free. So anyway, what if my business is smaller than 250,000? The principles work at any revenue level or any paycheck level. If you're ready to build systems and stop overpaying, you're ready for this program. Okay. Now, what if this doesn't work for my business? Like I said, it works for everybody who's making money. Now, if it doesn't work for you, then you showed up with no money, and so you shouldn't have showed up in the program. But if you are someone who's making money, if you're someone who's paying taxes, if you're someone who want to save and multiply and live just a better life and have the funds to do so, Aha Money is the community for you. I'm not just a highly trained accountant. I am a money coach, money mastery coach. Okay. So why should I pay for this versus the free YouTube advice? Well, YouTube gives you generic advice and we customize your business, your numbers, your situation, plus accountability and implementation. Now, listen, like I done said to you guys before, tax advice is just like medicine. You have to take your own. You got to take your own. You got to take your own. So, if you're ready to stop overpaying and start multiplying, everything you want in life is behind a number. You were born guard rich, and the riches are waiting for you to claim them. All right. The bonus does not expire tonight at midnight. Um, we'll get that corrected. The bonus is open um, until the end of the challenge. So talk to you later. Bye. Stop sharing. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me drop the link for those over on. What was showing the whiteboard? I had no idea. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. So thank you for joining me for day two of the Pocketbook Profit Bootcamp. And let me know if you're ready to join us for Aha Money. Join the Aha Money community. The link is up. You can go over to I go to our webpage to join. I'm going to put the hot link up. So I look forward to working with you soon. And if you have any questions, just send me an inbox right here. Tell me you're looking. You can under the video or um, register. If you register, you'll get the emails and just I'll see your emails and respond. All right, y'all have a fabulous night. All right, bye.